Welcome back. Let's turn our attention again to the constitutional amendments that are on the ballot, and specifically Amendment 3. Dubbed All Voters Vote, Amendment 3 would open up the state's primary system. Right now, only registered Democrats can vote in Democratic primaries, and only Republicans can vote in Republican primaries. As a result, at least 3.5 million voters who have no party affiliation are left out of the process. Amendment 3 would allow all registered voters to participate in the primaries and choose candidates for the state legislature, governor, and cabinet. And then the two highest vote getters, regardless of what party they may be in, would advance to the general election. Amendment 3 is opposed by the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the Green Party, and a wide array of groups on all sides of the political spectrum. Two groups have come out in support, and they have enjoyed the financial backing of billionaire Mike Fernandez, who has donated at least $6 million into upending the primary system in Florida. Steve Van Coor is a political campaign consultant and one of the leaders behind the group, All Voters Vote.
Those who are registered to vote should not be excluded from elections that decide who's going to represent them in Tallahassee. Let me give you one quick example. Right now in the Florida Senate, there are 21 seats that are on the ballot. Really 3, maybe 4 of them will be decided in an election where every registered voter gets to vote. 17 of the 21 are already decided, already off the table, and in every one of those seats, every single one of them, a majority of voters was told you're not allowed to vote. And that means the independent voters, as well as the people who, if you're in a Democratic seat and you're a Republican, you didn't get to choose. And so what that leads to is a hyper siloing of these lawmakers where I've run over 200 campaigns in my career, and I see it every day. The Democrats only have to answer to a tiny sliver of the very far left. The Republicans only have to answer to a very tiny sliver of the very far right. Most voters are excluded from the process. The All Voters Vote Amendment is a proven method, and we hope to amend the Constitution to have a process. Taxpayers are paying for these elections. Tax-paying but registered voters should be allowed to vote in them.
Sean Shaw is a former Democratic state representative who leads the group People Over Profits.
Amendment 3, Jim, is an amendment that on first blush, first glance, sounds good, but what it does is really have a lot of unintended consequences. It purports to open up the primary system so that NPAs can vote in primaries, but what it really does is diminish the voting power of not only African Americans, but Hispanics and progressives, because it allows everybody to vote in a giant primary, and then the top 2 vote getters proceed to the general regardless of party. So there's no such thing as a Republican primary. There's no such thing as a Democratic primary. Everyone votes in a giant primary, so to speak, and that is really bad for African American voters, Hispanic voters, and progressives.
Well, we've got a current system where nearly 4 million voters who are not registered Democrats and not registered Republicans, but are registered voters, are unable to participate in the primary process, including, I believe it's almost 1 million minority voters as well, who are left out, who are registered as NPA, who can't participate. Shouldn't they be allowed to participate?
I would say 2 things to that. One, if you want to participate in the primaries of a party, there's an argument that you should join one of the parties. But number 2, just allowing NPAs to participate in primaries is one thing. That might be okay, but totally doing away with partisan primaries such that essentially Republicans can also vote in a Democratic primary and NPAs can vote in that primary starts to really distort the type of person that is going to ultimately get elected in these seats, and that's the problem. This isn't just allowing NPAs to vote. This is allowing everyone to vote. It's a step further, and that's where the problem comes in.
You end up, though, with a situation, according to the supporters of this, where you're going to get more moderate candidates. Rather than trying to appeal to the extremes of either party, you're going to get people who are going to try to appeal to more middle-of-the-road voters, wanting to try to sway them. And wouldn't that be good? I mean, aren't things a little bit too divided in this country right now? And if we had elected representatives who are worried more about the middle than the extremes, wouldn't that be a good thing?
Jim, I don't want Republicans voting in Democratic primaries, and believe me, I don't want to vote in their primaries, number one. Number two, I think the supporters of this amendment might actually be right on this. It might lead to more moderate candidates, so to speak. But some people don't think that's a good idea. Some people want progressive candidates on my side. Some people might want Tea Party candidates on the other side. But what we do know is that the voter share of minorities is going to plummet if you start allowing NPAs and Republicans and Democrats who all vote in a giant primary. It is going to greatly diminish Black and Hispanic voting share. And while you may gain moderates, you're going to lose a lot of African-American state senators, state House members, and it's going to lead to some problems.
The main opposition that I hear against this idea stems from the idea that you will be diluting minority representation in the legislature, that this will endanger state Senate seats currently occupied by African Americans and even some state Senate seats, for instance, occupied by Hispanics.
That's right. Well, that's not the only opposition. The opposition will also come from the parties themselves who don't want to give up the stranglehold they have on the electorate, where non-party people or people from the other party get to also cast ballots. I will listen. I've known Sean Shaw a long time. His report is laughable. He won't disclose who paid for it. It's incomplete. It ignores the 1.6 million minority voters who are currently excluded from being allowed to vote.
I talked to the proponents of this measure who said that your analysis showing that you would end up losing these minority seats is in fact wrong. They don't agree with the analysis the way that you've put it forward. They think that there's evidence that you might actually be able to increase minority participation. How do you respond?
Tell me how you're going to get more Black people elected to the state legislature when Black voting share plummets 15-20%. I mean, I guess they have their own study that is in conflict with mine, but let me tell you what my study does say in terms of just black and white numbers. State Senate seat in Jacksonville, Black voter share is 70% right now in the Democratic primary. Under all voters vote, that Black voter share would go down to 43%. You tell me, is it going to be harder or easier for an African-American to win that district in the future when the Black voting share goes down 20-some%? Clearly, it's going to be harder. I'm not saying that it will be impossible for Black people to get elected to the legislature if all voters vote passes. What I'm saying, it's going to be much, much more difficult.
I don't know of any group other than yours that supports moving forward with this measure. Why is that? Because
think about what they all have in common. They're all part of the current system, and they like the current system. They don't want to see change. We're on the side of all those voters who are excluded. But I mean, with the League of Women Voters is a whole separate conversation. But all these groups have a vested interest in the current system being run the current way. And we're trying to change the current way to let all voters into the tent. And they don't like that. They like the current system the way it is. It's predictable, it benefits them, and they don't want to see that change, all of them.
Only 2 states have the type of primary system being proposed here in Florida. Those states are California and Washington. In order to pass, 60% of voters will need to agree, and it would take effect starting with elections in 2024. Now, if you'd like to learn more about what is on the ballot, you can go to our website, cbsmiami.com. We have all the information there. We'll be right back.